An MRC study shows that Google continues to bury former President Donald Trump's campaign website. Dan Schneider is Vice President of MRC Free Speech America, joining me now with more. Dan, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Stacy.
I'm getting tired of this news, but I noticed they don't just do it to President Trump. They delegitimize websites all the time. This is their routine now.
Yeah, but I can't figure out why, well, maybe I can, why Google especially hates Trump. Yeah, we've seen Google bury his campaign website in the past, but we've seen Google bury other candidates in opposition to Biden. But now it seems to be exclusively Donald Trump that they're going after.
Well, I think the reason is because they thought unsuccessfully. So first off, remember when they said their polls said that 98% chance of Hillary Clinton being the president. They were so sure she was going to win that it actually caused emotional turmoil for them when she lost.
Mm.
They couldn't fathom that she could lose. The same thing is going on here. They thought we're going to charge him with a bunch of charges. We're going to convict him on some of them. Some of them will stick. And when we do, Americans are going to turn away from this felon because of the criticism that was leveled at George Floyd. He was a felon, so many different things. Well, now we see that they absolutely don't have that going on. Americans are not turned off by President Trump's felon status. And so they're trying to figure out what they can do about it.
Yeah, you see Donald Trump's poll numbers actually going up on things like which candidate would be better on border security, and border security is becoming one of the top issues, if not the top issue, even among Democrats, and nobody trusts Joe Biden to protect the border. But Google, of course, Google doesn't care about borders. They want the United States of Google to exist. They don't care about nationhood or nation status any longer. But
Well,
in our
because
study,
no, I was
yeah.
just going to say their CEOs aren't American, so that's why they have that issue.
Yeah, and it's interesting, these big tech platforms, this this will be a little geeky, but in the 1600s, the Treaty of Westphalia established the modern concept of a state, with borders and that sort of thing. And it's been, centuries, and now Google and these big tech platforms are literally trying to change the whole idea of what a nation is, and they want to eliminate the idea of nations with borders and with citizenship and just be really the nation of Google or the nation of Facebook, where they control all the rules and all the laws. And Donald Trump is the single greatest threat to their efforts to change this whole idea of nationhood. So they're burying his campaign website. Joe Biden's was among the top search results, and all the other candidates too. We checked every single candidate, all 8 candidates running for president today. That includes Cornel West and RFK Jr. and several others. And every other candidate running for president was in the top 5 of search results. But Donald Trump was completely buried from the first page of search results. Google really despises him.
So the answer then is, well, just have to type in Donald Trump's website address and it will pre-populate for you. I do that, but I guess that's because I've been there many times before. But
Mhm.
I mean, I guess when I look at that, it's proof that he's stronger than the average bear. I mean, he literally has the ability to raise $400 million. 100 million of that was within 24 hours of the conviction, and that's a third of that is new donors. So that's new people who were able to get around Google's suppression to find
Yeah.
WinRed and his website and donate. So I mean that speaks volumes.
Well, we did this study the day after the conviction, when there was this sudden lurch in funding for his campaign. And you're right, a third of those donors were brand new, and that third, they were able to find his campaign website and the WinRed site to donate to him, even though Google was trying to bury it. So that really shows the enthusiasm level in support of him. That despite big tech's efforts to bury him, people are still breaking through that iron wall to try to find out how to support him.
So let's talk about ways that people can get around this, because I think when people hear that they're like, Google, okay, so if you're using DuckDuckGo, does this deprioritization still impact your search results?
No, what we have discovered is that when you use other search engines, oftentimes, most of the time, you get better results, whether it's DuckDuckGo or Bing or Tusk. Tusk is, maybe the most difficult to use so far, but the least biased, or completely unbiased. search engine out there. But and sometimes these search engines will produce similar results to Google, but Google is consistently by far the worst.
So I guess it depends on if you've even heard of this information before, and then if you have taken it's a little annoying for your phone. If you're using a certain type of phone, it wants you to either use Google and certain
Mhm.
platforms. Like if you're using certain things to do business, they want you to use Google to basically paste your thing in, and then you can use the app or
Mhm.
whatever the system is inside of Google. It's optimized for Google. So that is one way that they kind of force people to use their service, even if they're not really interested in using it. Because I actually use Bing. I've
Mhm.
tried the Task browser before. I just don't use it out of convenience because I'm already used to using Safari on my
Yeah.
Apple devices. But there is a sense that Google's inevitable. It feels like it's inevitable because even if you're not using it all the time, if you want to use a certain app, you need to then open up your Google app on your device and then go into it through there because that's what it's optimized for.
Yeah, and this gets to some antitrust questions. Many people are pursuing the legislative option where Google would have to divest itself of either its search engine or its ad side because there's a direct conflict of interest if Google's making money on both ends. That if you're an advertiser and you're paying Google, you'd have to pay Google extra for your search results to be elevated. So, that's an option that legislators are pursuing, and even possibly the antitrust division at DOJ. I don't see a Biden administration actively doing that because Google essentially is the guarantee to a Biden victory, or at least gives Biden the best chance of victory. So I don't think the Biden administration is going to, go after Google in any meaningful way. But there are lots of ways that must be pursued quickly, or else we're going to run out of time to save America.
Yeah, I think your point about the antitrust, we've seen some interesting things come out of FTC and other agencies as it
Mhm.
pertains to Section 230, and the Democrats appear to love it and hate it at the same time. Sometimes they have their congressional members railing against Section 230, other times they don't. And the social media giants, I think, have a lot to do with that. They use Section 230 as a kind of a bludgeon to keep the social media giants in line, doing their bidding and working against conservatives. And so with Google deprioritizing Trump, they're shoring up their friendship there. They don't have to worry about that dichotomy that you discussed with them having two sides of the same revenue stream where their customers don't have a choice. I think that's a very interesting point. And they do have a sense of like you do need Google Ads. And if you have your website, if you don't have their ads going, it's very hard to get people to find your website unless you just
Yeah.
have an outstanding presence on your own. So this is a problem that hopefully an incoming Trump administration might be able to address in some manner.
Yeah, and that ad revenue side is so important because these big tech platforms, they're trying to drive funding away from sites like yours and others in favor of the left. And that's a really sinister way to try to eliminate political opposition, to try to kill their revenue streams. And that is another violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act, illegal restraint of trade.
Unbelievable. So as we close out here, Dan, um, just give our viewers something that you'd like them to do. We have about a minute left here. What would you like them to see do? What one thing should they do here?
Well, yeah, one real practical thing is to get a subscription to your hometown newspapers and to watch shows like yours, Stacy, because that's where people are going to get genuine news that is far more accurate than what you can find on a Google News tab or the New York Times. But then contact your local representatives, your attorney generals to see what they're doing and encourage them to fight against these big tech overreaches.
Perfect. Dan Schneider, it's always a pleasure for me to see you here on the program. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Stacy.
All right. And we have more Stacey Washington now coming up. In case you missed it, Martha Alito, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Alito, is hilarious. I'll tell you the details.